This is Farris Khan with Michigan Football at the Voice of College Football. I was in the middle of preparing Smash the Numbers preview for Fresno State. Then we get news from Yahoo Sports and others. I believe Yahoo was the first to break it, so I'm gonna go to Yahoo in a second. Michigan receives notice of allegations from NCAA related to the sign stealing investigation. We're going to read the Yahoo report. We will also quickly take a look at the On3 report or article, and then I'm going to actually comment on the timing of it and what this means to Michigan for the 2024 season coming up right now. All right, first up, let's look at the source, Dan Wetzel. The NCAA has finally delivered its full notice of allegations against Michigan in the advanced scouting Connor Stalions case. Industry sources tell Ross Dellinger and me. That was the information we got from Dan Wetzel. I'm going to go over a couple different articles. We'll start with On3 first. All right. So On3 goes on to give credit to Dan Wetzel, who I just named. Pete Nako, or I just showed you his post. Pete Nakos confirmed these reports. There was previously a draft of the notice of allegations that was reported up on. Now there are reportedly going to be some changes from that initial draft. My take on that is perhaps it was this big and now it's going to get smaller. That's just a guess. We'll see. All right, some other information here. The NCAA has confirmed that Michigan has received the notice of allegations. The NCAA can confirm that the notice of allegations has been distributed to the school and involved parties in the Michigan investigation to protect the integrity of the infractions process. As the case progresses forward, the NCAA will not provide any further comments. Will not provide any further comment on the specifics included. All right. So this is what my interpretation of this is. This is that back and forth that's potentially happening. That started, I think, with Jim Harbaugh's lawyer, that the NCAA accused of leaking information. And now there may be a situation where the NCAA itself is leaking information and not providing any further comment after they've leaked the information. So this is what happened a little while ago, a week or two ago, where they leaked some information. It was a draft version. This apparently is the final version. All right, some other notes here. The news of the NOA, Notice of Allegation, being delivered to Michigan comes just 2 days before the Netflix documentary Untold Sign Stealer is set to premiere. So this was obviously, they're talking about how it was a storyline of the 2023 season. It actually was a storyline in the off season as well, as Jim Harbaugh had left. Michigan continues to be in the news here. And then there's some background information. Just trying to see if there's anything else. I think those are the main things. I'm going to go on full screen. All right. So I think that On3 article really did cover all the major points as I understand them right now. Obviously, this is breaking news. Michigan has not confirmed it. What I'll say is this. Okay. So first of all, it's really important to know that sign stealing is a whole different thing than the hamburgers. Jim Harbaugh ordering hamburgers for breakfast and all the implications of that. So these are two separate issues. You may see others trying to combine them into one. They're two separate issues. Maybe there's a lingering issue of, which came first, chicken or the egg, and is it if they're on probation, is this a second thing that happened, or did that probation happen after this sign stealing thing came out, or the evidence, or the investigation into that first thing, did that happen where that probation would be things happening after sign stealing or before sign stealing? So I think that may be one relevant issue, but let's look at the timing. All right, so the timing for this is 90 days Michigan has to respond. I also understand, there's some reports out there about potential penalties and things like that. My understanding is that the penalty does not happen until after Michigan gets a chance to respond. So what do I mean by that? I mean, like, potentially, what if I'll give you one example. So what if the NCAA says, okay, Michigan, you did A, B, and C. You also did X, Y, and Z. And let's say the X in that X, Y, and Z is that Connor Stalions was on the sidelines for a CMU game, representing Michigan to try to sign steal. And what if Michigan's response to that is he was not representing Michigan, he was representing Central Michigan, doing subcontracting for them, and it doesn't make any logical sense why he would be on the sidelines with the exact same outfit as everybody else in the Central Michigan coaching staff. Obviously, the coaching staff had to know, and if he really wanted to steal signs, wouldn't he be 10 rows up on the aisle with a perfect view of the signs, maybe with a zoom lens, instead of trying to sneak camera pictures or whatever he was trying to do on the sideline? So it makes logical sense. Maybe they would say, and then maybe the NCAA would say, okay, you didn't do A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z. You did A, B, and C, and X. We agree that Connor Stalions thing doesn't make any sense. We'll take that off the table. So that's just one example, but you still did Y and Z, maybe they say. So anyway, so I think that's the situation there. Let's also look at the timing in terms of what is exactly 90 days from today. 90 days from today is November 23rd. That's exactly 1 week before the Ohio State game. So this gives, if you want to call it the opportunity, but this gives the NCAA the opportunity to disrupt Michigan, giving them that deadline right before the Ohio State game. If the NCAA had waited 1 more week, they could have potentially Michigan could have potentially avoided the entire regular season, played the whole thing out without having to worry about this, and then they would respond after the regular season. So the timing is a little strange there. Another thing that's strange is that on Tuesday, the Connor Stalions documentary will come out, as I was mentioned before. So what does that mean? Maybe the NCAA wants this information to get out before the Connor Stalions gets out. To me, it seems a bit of a let's get in the news first. Let's give some facts out there first before the documentary comes out, in case there's anything that is damaging. So, recap here. What do we know? We know that there was a draft of the document. Many of us took a look at what was at least reported on in the draft. It did not seem that much of a big of a deal for Michigan. The question is that draft going to shrink in terms of the final version, and or when Michigan responds, will it shrink even more? And then what would be the penalties? If we're only talking about the draft version, what we're talking about is probably penalties for Harbaugh, obviously penalties for Stalions, maybe something minor for Sharon Moore, but nothing that would affect the 2023 championship, and nothing that I can see that would affect 2024, because if Michigan responded, the NCAA would then have to take into consideration their response, before ruling on something, and that would be right in the middle of the playoffs. So it doesn't seem like the timing makes sense, other than the NCAA was able to, if this was their intent, was able to try to win in the court of public opinion before the Stalions documentary comes out. There's also a book coming out on this subject this week as well. So there's a lot of news that's Michigan. Once again, Michigan is at the center of the college football universe. What does it mean? I'm going to go into this in a little bit more detail tomorrow. In tomorrow's Smash the Numbers. But what does this mean in terms of the Fresno State game and the Texas game? I don't think it affects either game, except I do think Michigan players will have a chip on their shoulder. And the argument that Michigan maybe shouldn't be so conservative in the Fresno State game, and they should really push to try to put as many plays on film, practice as many plays, get Texas to have to look at all those plays. I think that makes a lot of sense. A motivated team, another chip on their shoulder. Fresno State is going to be a night game. It would have been great if Harbaugh was there. that would have added to the drama. Harbaugh was going to be the honorary captain for the game, but that's not going to happen. But had that happened, it would have taken this to another level. It's going to be on NBC. It's going to be at night, even though Fresno State is quote unquote a lesser opponent, a 20-point underdog. I do think that Michigan there's a high chance that Michigan could break the floodgates open, not be so conservative, and start winging the ball around and trying to do anything they can to put as much stuff on film as possible. And also, there's some motivation there with everybody watching in a nationally televised NBC game. So those are my thoughts. I'm going to go into detail about specifically Fresno State in Smash the Numbers that will be published tomorrow morning. Look for that. And keep tuning into this channel. Anytime anything breaking news happens with Michigan, we'll be on to talk about it. Till tomorrow. Go Blue.